The untold truth about narcissistic mental abuse and its devastating effects. Those who have survived the onslaught of mental torture delivered by the narcissist can teach you a thing or two about coping with your current predicament. Such conduct could harm your prospects of achieving love and emotional fulfillment. Individuals who have endured the mental torment caused by a narcissist can provide valuable lessons on coping with a similar situation. Engaging in such conduct could jeopardize your chances of finding love and emotional satisfaction. Many different things can influence a person's actions, and the ups and downs of people's emotions are a reflection of their behavior. Nonetheless, one's behavior may be improved upon in the same way that any other part of one's life can be. Numerous factors can impact an individual's behavior, and a person's emotional fluctuations are a manifestation of their conduct. However, one can improve their behavior just as they can improve any other aspect of their life. Changes in conduct are the most obvious and damaging result of psychological abuse. In this video, I discuss some of the signs that victims of narcissistic abuse may exhibit. The most apparent and detrimental outcome of psychological abuse is the changes it causes in an individual's behavior. This video explores some of the indications that victims of narcissistic abuse may display. Firstly, anxiety and low mood are common symptoms. Do you know someone who always seems to be perpetually depressed and worried? How much work did you do to guarantee their safety? That is what appears to be the issue. It's possible that the narcissist is mentally abusing this person. To be the focus of relentless criticism can be very taxing. A cold compress applied to a bruise will hasten its recovery, but suffering from mental abuse is a lifelong condition, especially when the abuser is someone the victim often interacts with or cannot avoid. It's impossible to maintain a cheerful disposition while expecting to suffer greater insults. Nothing of the sort has happened as of yet. Another way to describe it is that it makes them feel so hopeless and helpless that suicide seems like the only way out. If this occurs, it's best to see a doctor right away. Second, there is a problem with excessive obedience. When one's actions are in line with what other people want or expect, compliance means doing no more than is absolutely necessary. Obedience is a state of mind in which one always chooses to comply with a command, even though doing so would be contrary to one's values or principles. In this context, caving means agreeing to do something you'd rather avoid. Victims of mental abuse frequently respond by becoming highly rebellious in an attempt to protect themselves from further attacks. There's also the possibility that they cherish their relationships with the abuser and or others. Third, inadequate self-assurance and an overabundance of doubt about one's own abilities. Anyone who has experienced mental abuse firsthand can attest to the destructive consequences it may have. The victim feels humiliated because of this, giving the impression that they are weak and helpless. Many people who have experienced trauma don't talk about it for fear of ridicule or isolation. Despite their greatest attempts, victims are consistently shown as helpless and vulnerable. This is because abusers frequently conduct psychological warfare by constantly bringing up the victim's past and identifying characteristics. If they have to regularly hear such vicious comments, it will do serious psychological damage to them. There will be a dramatic drop in trust as a result of this. Fourth, their emotions are out of their control. Minds are the driving force behind all living things, exerting total control over the person. At this point, nothing has been done yet. It takes information in, analyzes it, and then makes a decision about how to proceed. A person's ability to keep their faculties under control deteriorates as a result of mental maltreatment, leading to an internal uprising. The affected person is unable to regulate their own feelings, wants, and actions. Neglecting the call for moderation will lead to disastrous outcomes. Those who experience it often find themselves saying or doing things they later deeply regret. Fifth, irrationality, the propensity to act or react without sufficient justification. Displaying extreme feelings, as in fits of hysteria or hypersensitivity. Victims of psychopaths lose the ability to reason. Those who fall prey to them have their minds manipulated into accepting false notions, which need not always be biased or destructive. With this view, victims will be emphasized for their worthlessness. This causes the sufferers to adopt harmful attitudes and routines. Being falsely accused of or condemned for anything often leads to feelings of danger. Sixth, unhappiness and a negative outlook. Number 6. Can you think of anyone you know who appears perpetually gloomy, who doesn't care about anything other than staying alive, and who is so worried about themselves and the world that they are on the verge of despair? If a person is mentally abused, they may begin to doubt their own abilities and their ability to cope with future difficulties. The past, the present, and the future all look bleak in their eyes, and they fear the worst, becoming less optimistic that good things will occur. Antipathy against the future as a whole is thought to be intentional, and degradation is a result of psychological maltreatment. Disillusionment is the only appropriate response to this kind of debasement. Victims lose faith in themselves and conclude that they do not merit the good things in life, achieving risk-averseness through a relentless focus on contingency planning. Number 7. Not getting anything done. A victim of mental abuse may lose interest in even the activities they once found pleasurable. Despite having access to everything, they are unable to accomplish anything. They know what must be done and have the ability to accomplish it, but they do not want to do it. They have developed a pessimistic outlook on life as a result of having been subjected to repeated acts of abuse at the hands of narcissists. A negative view of life, especially if the victim believes that no one values their efforts, is detrimental to making progress toward their goals. Number 8. They start acting carelessly and without any concern for the consequences. In psychology, recklessness is defined as a willful disregard for one's own or other people's safety. Victims of mental abuse are more prone to making rash choices under pressure, which can lead to a destructive cycle of codependence with their abuser. This is because perpetrators of abuse frequently place their victims in situations that are both physically and emotionally exhausting. Taking matters into one's own hands almost always results in a worse situation, creating a catch-22. The psychological and emotional abuse they have suffered will make them reckless or unable to make sound choices. 9. Resentful. It is not pleasant to be the target of a vicious verbal or psychological attack. It is only normal for the abused to seek revenge after witnessing or experiencing the abuser's harsh actions. Victims of abuse often develop a deep-seated hatred for their abuser and an intense thirst for revenge as they ruminate on the atrocities they suffered. Especially for narcissists who appear empathetic, the time to seek retribution and the time to extract vengeance and justify one's horrific experience will arrive. If you have been on the receiving end of a narcissist's demands for special treatment, you have probably had enough. This is why you are set on bringing them to their knees and stripping them of all power. Because they are aware that revenge against the narcissist will not be successful, victims often mistakenly vent their frustrations on those around them. 10. Uneasy. A person who is being the target of a narcissist's emotional abuse is famously difficult to understand. Because they are afraid of the narcissists, they behave properly. Disquieting actions, such as acting tense or fidgety, are common. Victims have trouble remaining seated, and they suffer from short attention spans as a result of this. They may be trying to cope with an abundance of negative thoughts or unwarranted fears, in which case fidgeting may be a symptom. Nail biting, foot tapping, and tapping fingers on a tabletop are all examples of compulsive behaviors that can help people with anxiety. Someone you know may have experienced or be experiencing narcissistic mental abuse. The vast majority of people who report recovering from mental abuse also report altering their behavior as a result. For victims to recover, the ability to make the aforementioned changes in behavior may be crucial. If you want excellent results, consulting a professional is a smart move. Please like and subscribe if you found any value in what I shared. If you find this information to be true, I encourage you to watch my other video regarding narcissists.
So before we end today's video, let's summarize this as usual. I have seen the effects of narcissistic mental abuse can be devastating. Victims can experience anxiety, low mood, excessive obedience, inadequate self-assurance, a loss of emotional control, irrationality, unhappiness, and loss of interest in activities they once found pleasurable. Narcissistic abuse can be very taxing on victims, and it is essential to seek help from a doctor if you feel helpless and hopeless or if you have suicidal thoughts. However, if you want to cope with narcissistic abuse, you can learn from the experiences of survivors too. Let us explore some of the signs of narcissistic abuse and how victims can overcome them. Anxiety and low mood are common symptoms of narcissistic abuse. Victims may feel like they are under constant criticism, making it impossible to maintain a positive attitude. The abuser's psychological warfare can damage the victim's trust, making it challenging to find love and emotional satisfaction. To overcome this, victims should seek professional help and surround themselves with supportive and caring people who can help them rebuild their self-esteem. Excessive obedience is another sign of narcissistic abuse. Victims may feel like they need to comply with commands, even if doing so goes against their values and principles. Victims may respond by becoming highly rebellious, trying to protect themselves from further attacks, or cherishing their relationships with the abuser and or others. To overcome this, victims should learn to stand up for themselves, set healthy boundaries, and communicate assertively. Inadequate self-assurance and an overabundance of doubt about one's own abilities are also common in victims of narcissistic abuse. Victims might feel humiliated and vulnerable, making them feel weak and helpless. So to overcome this, victims should seek professional help to address their mental health issues and build their self-esteem. They should also identify their strengths and develop a positive self-image. Well, I think that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you find this video informative, and please don't hesitate to share your thoughts and ideas in the comment section below if you have anything to add. Thank you for watching this video and have a nice day.